5 developers make a video game, but no communication between them is allowed. And to spice things up even further, each developer is going to get assigned a specific role and disrupt the natural order of things. We will start with a music composer, followed by a sound designer, and only then bring in a game designer. Next we'll have a programmer, and finally a game artist. What game will be made starting with music? Let's find out with developer number 1 and his role, music composer.
Hello, it's Lighthoof Dryden here. Thank you so much to Blackthornprod for having me back on. Starting with the music is a pretty interestingly backwards approach, and I wanted to do something a little different. My main project right now is Disinherited. It's a Victorian side-scrolling roguelike that draws a lot of inspiration musically from like European classical music with acoustic and orchestral instruments. And that game started right here on Blackthornprod. Check out my channel if you want to see some more. I used to do music production with alternative pop artists, and I haven't gotten to scratch that more electronic itch for a while. I remembered some early drafts in 2019 that I had made that never really got finished. There was this song called Bluff that had this noiry, lo-fi sort of sound. I had been collabing with my friend Yeva, so I called her up and we finished the song together. But that wasn't enough. I also created an instrumental version, and then I got out one of the songs from the time called The Ghosting Hour, which had much the same vibes. I finished that one and did an instrumental version as well. Here's what that sounds like.
And I ask you, what do you want at the ghosting hour? What do you want at the ghosting hour?
And then last, we needed some general underscoring music, so I created this additional track called Smoke and Mirrors. I did 2 versions of it, one more upbeat and energetic, and another one more low-key and vibey. They both use the same chord progression, so hypothetically you could fade between the 2 depending on what's happening in the game. Super excited to see where this one goes. On to the next dev.
Hey there, I'm Lighthoof. I work on a puzzle platformer game called Have and create devlogs and other game development related videos on my ShortEDev YouTube channel. So I have tried becoming a sound designer for a day. Let's see what kind of music the composer came up with. Whoa, yes, so this definitely should be a mafia game. Or maybe poker? Maybe even combination of both. Before starting my work, I came up with a list of potential sound effects that could be included in mafia-themed games. The first thing that I did was get outside to my local park to try and capture some of the sound effects, such as footsteps, whooshes, impacts. Then I moved on to capturing different sounds by using a variety of household objects that I could find in my home. For gunshots and reloading, I used a couple of Nerf guns that I had laying around. One of those was a pistol, and the other one a semi-auto rifle. For different impacts, I was using scissors, rocks, bashed some pillows together. Of course, I needed to make some crunchy blood sound effects as well, for which I used a bottle that's filled with water and my mouth. I also figured that a mafia game could potentially need some money sounds, so I just used the paper for that. And then of course a briefcase or a suitcase that holds the money. I thought that it would be really fun if the game had some voiceovers.
Hey! Hey! Huh? Huh?
It was finally time to use Audacity to create some game-ready sound effects. For more complex sound effects, I use sound layering to create effects like these. In the end, I made around 100 different sound effects, that's including all the variations. Thanks for having me. Make sure to subscribe to my ShortEDev YouTube channel. Bye bye!
But before continuing this mad collaboration, we just wanted to let you know that our massive course, Game Dev Rockets, is now 40% off for this Black Friday event. Learning how to design, draw, code, and then sell your games on Steam has never been cheaper before. So if you want to bring your imagination to life, now is the perfect moment to do so. In this course, we create dozens of games, from platformers and horror games to a tower defense game and even a multiplayer FPS. We'll go in depth on how to use the Unity game engine and how to code in C#. We'll also teach you how to build a successful game dev YouTube channel so you can then market your work and actually build passive revenue while you develop your games. The link to the course is in the description, and with that said, let's move on to the next developer.
Alright, so the music goes hard, let's say that first, but it also feels like formal, but in a, non-formal way. Sure, we're all gentlemen around this table, but I am also secretly holding a gun down here. But, so is he probably.
What? No, I'm not. I just got in the booth. What sort of
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we all had a gun. And with the gunshot sounds, the money, the suitcase, the vocal performances, it seems to me like we're at some sort of table, in a shady basement of a shady bar doing shady business. Now, one of the songs is called Ghosting Hour, and apparently that sorta means something, but not even Google is too sure about that. I found it to be a pretty intriguing term though, and I made sure to name the game just that, Ghosting Hour. I feel like the Ghosting Hour could be a term the characters use in the game, for instance. It's what they call their all or nothing game. I drew some quick concept art for the main character, and no, that is not me, that's a genuine coincidence. The protagonist faces the antagonist in a high-stakes card game. I think it makes sense to make the game a card game, as there's going to be one poor fella coding the entire game and someone else making all the art this time around. So I can't really force them to create this open world game, can I? The characters wager their own life. It's a game of death. A ghosting hour. You draw cards until you have 7 and refill to 7 at the start of every turn. You're also holding a gun. I thought that would be like a good thing to tell you. See, the cards you play in your turn decide the power of your bullet. All cards have an energy cost, and you have a maximum amount of energy you can use per turn. At the end of your turn, you load that bullet you've been powering up into your gun and shoot your opponent point blank. He survives this, but it's still probably not that pleasant. I cannot speak of experience, I have read the WikiHow. The most interesting thing is what happens next though. The perspective shifts. You now play as the antagonist. You see, the protagonist is actually half dead already and can use his spectral powers to control the actions of his opponent. However, blatantly making the antagonist lose is too obvious and can blow his cover. So where you get a maximum of 5 energy per turn as the protagonist, you have to play cards worth at least 3 energy total as the antagonist each turn. The player's goal is to play cards in such a way that the protagonist wins, even if the antagonist starts with more health. Making sure the antagonist plays defensively when the protagonist is charging up his bullet instead of firing, making the antagonist fire everything he's got on a turn where the protagonist swaps guns before firing. You have to play smart to win. Or well, I hope so. See, a card game is among the game types that require the most amount of playtesting, since, so many tiny factors matter immensely here. We don't have the luxury of all that playtesting this time around, so I'm doing a whole lot of speculation here. Just in case I'm blatantly wrong with some of them, I made sure to list some optional changes if the game ends up being way too easy, hard, or even boring. Alright, well, you can check out my own channel if you liked the little devlog here. There's a whole lot more where that came from. And yeah, peace out.
Hey everyone, Saturn from the India Court here. When I got the game, there was not a single line of code in it, which was a bit daunting. I did have the game design docs, so I trusted my ancestors and I got to work implementing it. Right away, I started by working on the game controller script, and I got the basis for taking turns and shooting your opponent in. For the UI, I just used the concept art, and I made programmer art for the cards. Once I got the cards all up and running, I worked on adding the sounds and making things more readable and understandable. I knew the most important thing was to finish the game loop, so I added a basic win and lose screen. Very basic. With the little time remaining, I added a phase at the end of a turn where the two characters shoot at each other so you can better see the results of the card you played. I did a bit of playtesting and balancing to make sure everything worked, but I hope the next guy has some time to do balance and art because I left the project in quite a state. Before I go, just wanted to let you know my deck builder PvP dopamine game, Slot Gun, is on Steam with a free demo now. Check it out.
Having recently watched The Penguin, I was very happy to see that the theme for this project was about gangsters and tense face-offs. I began by sketching the antagonist, so I used some textured brushes for a more dramatic, painterly feel. I always do some research beforehand, for example checking out images from gangster movies, cruel faces and dark photography. This helps sharpen my vision for how the game can look and feel. Then I added some smoke, blood red rain, and a little glow to his cigar. Next I painted the player character, a mysterious fellow with fiery colours to make him stand out from the villain. In Unity I gave him some glowing eyes, which added to the supernatural quality of the character, since he is technically a spirit capable of somewhat controlling the actions of his opponents. I chose the Bokor fonts as a nice gangster feel and polished up the cards, adding art and making them scale up a bit when the player hovers over them. At the end of the day, super happy with the end result. We've got a dark, gritty atmosphere, and frankly I'd love to make more gangster themed games, you know, set in grimy towns, rat-infested basements, real mafia atmosphere. Called the game Gangster Table and sent it to the rest of the team for a playtest and a meeting.
Alright, so I have some cards. Clearly trying to take this guy down.
Nice. Let's go, it's a mafia game. I can't believe that they actually went on and made it into a mafia game.
Okay, the vibe is here. Let's see, I noticed there isn't a tutorial or just like a quick explanation of what to do, so I fear maybe the other guys aren't going to understand what's going on when they possess the antagonist, but...
Let's try shooting.
Wait, what happened? Wait, am I playing as the other guy now?
Oh, wait, is this meant to be like a two-player
two-player
game? If there was a message that was like, make him lose or something like that, that would be sick.
In the artwork I maybe should have made it seem a bit more like the character was possessed, with his eyes glowing or something.
Okay. Of course, yeah, it's the confused sound effect that I made. Nice.
Whoa, is it raining blood? That's awesome.
For the design work, how long did it take you to come up with this sort of game idea?
It was an interesting process for sure, making a card game, like designing it. A whole lot of it is playtesting, and that's just not really a luxury we have now with the whole role thing, so it's just me kind of winging it, really.
It's crazy that actually like you invented it from your head, you had no playtesting, and it did turn out quite okay, which is almost like a small miracle.
I am absolutely comboing this fella though. Oh, boom! Oh. I shot but I didn't shoot. Where's the health? Oh, they shoot at the same time. I see. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't turn out great, but it turned out okay. Yeah.
There's potential for it to be great with enough playtesting, with enough like the concept of basically bewitching and like playing your opponent, so playing almost against yourself in a way. I think is really original. It's really cool.
If we just have one extra dev, eat the balance.
Yeah, like one extra dev would probably be really good. Oh, I see poison. Okay, let's take poison. Heal up myself, I guess. Maybe even you do like procedural generation to make like the game somewhat randomized, so that it's like a roguelike that you play for as long as you can or something.
I would love to add some deck building elements to it as well.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll skip the protagonist's turn, and then, yeah, I can attack anyways with him. So, on a turn where the villain isn't taking damage, I'm going to play his OP blocking card just to get rid of them. Okay.
I think what could be really interesting is if it's a deck builder for you and it's a deck builder for the house. So you try to make their deck as bad as possible, or at least as like negatively synergistic with your deck as possible. I think that could be really interesting.
Let's go!
Exactly what I envisioned when I was writing the music.
I think we did really great work on this one. Nice work, everyone.
There's a game here, and I think like also the marketing hook of build a deck for yourself and your opponents kind of interesting. Like it's not really been seen before. You're creating a deck for the enemy and you're also playing the enemy. Interesting stuff. 100 developers make a game without communicating is almost complete, so make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss it. And remember that our massive game dev course is at a crazy 40% discount for this Black Friday only, so check it out with the link in description. Alright, see you soon guys, cheers.